How do you think it would be if people could be evaluated by each other? Like the apps on the Play Store or App Store. No need to imagine anymore because we have an episode about this in the Amazing World of Gumball. In this episode, people gain the power to give each other ratings. These ratings would be visible to others, and this episode addresses that feeling we have about our reputation. If you're interested, just stay until the end of the video, and without further ado, let's get started. The episode begins with Principal Brown getting a haircut, and clearly, Larry is the barber. It's incredible how he manages to do all the jobs in this town. He will be a very important character for this episode and will appear frequently. Next, we have Richard ready to ask for his haircut. However, there are two essential details. First, the haircut is ugly as hell, and second, Richard is bald. Richard is stunned to receive the information that he is bald and becomes all sulky and grumpy. He has a prejudice against bald people and refuses to accept that he is part of that group. It's like those black people who deny being black. Continuing, Richard says he will only leave the barber shop after getting his hair cut, leaving Larry with no option but to cut the only strand of hair on Richard's head. He even asks Richard if he's sure that's what he wants, and Richard agrees with all his might. After that, Richard spends 3 days walking around complaining about how he was treated by Larry. Even with Darwin, he doesn't want to accept being bald, something that is clearly indisputable. Gumball suggests that they destroy Larry's life and reputation online anonymously. If you're one of those people who make racist comments, make jokes about 9/11, or post GIFs making fun of disabled people on Instagram, you should be ashamed of yourself. Recently, there was a case of a child in Brazil who was a victim of racism on TikTok because of his birthday party. If you make nasty comments on videos of kids out there, what are you doing? It's incredible how easy it is to ruin someone's life because of what you call jokes. What you call freedom of expression should be a crime, and you should feel like crap. Continuing, Gumball says that the perfect way to write an online review is to pour all your frustration on someone who has nothing to do with it. I have no idea what Gumball wrote, but just by seeing the others' faces, you can tell it wasn't something normal. After the review is sent, Larry calls Richard to talk about that review. Richard tries to deny that he was the one who put that review, but it had his signature, name, and photo. This is to say that you, sitting at home playing video games and talking crap on the internet, are not safe behind that screen. Not long ago, we had the case of the king of Discord in Brazil. If you have time, go read it because it's very interesting and sick. Larry says that the review was very mean and untrue, but according to him, the customer is always right, and he asks Richard to help erase that comment. Richard and his family would then get free haircuts. Then, a show of blackmailing by Gumball and Darwin begins with Larry. They go to an expensive restaurant and eat until they can't anymore. When Larry goes to deliver the bill, they say they won't pay, as this kind of gesture ensures a 5-star review. Now I ask you, why does Larry care so much about one bad review? Many people have already been to the restaurant and probably gave him a maximum rating. So why would Larry be so concerned about one bad review? The answer is that we, humans, worry more about what people say bad about us than what they say good about us. If someone says, for example, that the food you cooked is great, that person may or may not be lying. But if someone says that the food you cooked was crap, you will have no doubts that this person is telling the truth. If in the middle of 10 people, one says they don't like how you're dressed, you won't question whether what she said is true, but whether what the other 9 said is true. So I believe that's what we were shown many times in this episode. After blackmailing Larry and even breaking one of the restaurant's rules, they go to the zoo. And just like in the restaurant, this time they make Larry break the rules of nature, giving life to this scary thing. Then they go to the cinema, and again, they blackmail Larry to show a movie that pleases them in exchange for a good review. Just a detail is that the movie that was originally playing was called Man, a man who was bitten by another man and now has human powers. I don't need to say how crappy this premise is, but maybe it can be a critique of the quality of today's movies. This may be my imagination, but I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments, and once there, leave a like. The movie Larry made was a satire of romance movies. This premise is from old movies, but nowadays, there are still some like that. In this case, it would be the classic of a strange and nerdy girl ending up in a relationship with the popular guy all the girls want. This used to be popular a few years ago, but nowadays, it's a joke. Despite the movie having this a bit, Darwin liked it, and it was enough to give it 5 stars. When they leave the cinema, Tobias mocks them, irritating Gumball and making him try to give him 1 star. But since he wasn't a business, Gumball couldn't do anything. They go to Larry and ask him to make a website so they can rate the people of Elmore. At this point, ratings have stopped being just about businesses but have reached the level of evaluating people as a whole. Gumball and Darwin start evaluating the people of Elmore and giving 1 star for bizarre reasons. After a while, they realize that not only them but everyone was using the website. This led to Principal Brown being expelled from school and getting a 3-star rating. Now he's a beggar selling things that certainly wouldn't be legal. Then Gumball and Darwin were rated and noticed that people with low ratings did nothing, and even the ambulance just stood still while the patient suffered in pain. They end up finding Richard, who says the following.
So they gave me 1 star. What if I lose that star too? What will people I don't know on the internet think about me?
Gumball retaliates, saying that only their own opinion matters, not others.
Terrible logic. 1 star.
When I said that no one was moving, that included even the police. When they needed their help, he says.
I'm on 2 stars here. 1 bad review and I can be busted down a traffic cop. And then I'd have to do something.
Gumball has the idea of giving 0 stars to the website in the hope of ending it. But only Larry can do that since he's the only one who still has a good online rating. Larry says he will only do that if Richard admits he's bald. He refuses, and then Larry says he will give him a 5-star rating, which would make the site unstoppable. But luckily, thanks to Richard's baldness, that didn't happen, and everything went back to normal. And when Richard was finally about to admit he was bald, this happens.
All right, I'll admit it. I'm bald.
So the episode ends without us having seen Richard admit to being bald. What did we learn in this episode? So much that I can't even say, but you can in the comments. A hug and bye.